Welcome to today's verdict. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesch. We got a big show today, starting out with well-known national attorney Sanford Rubenstein. Is going to be talking about the New York City Housing Authority notice of claim that he just filed regarding potential arsenic in the water at the Riis Houses. Next up, Alexander Sanchez is going to be returning to the show to talk to you about what you should do if you are arrested. Such an important show. Stay with us. Today's verdict has so much more right now. All right, welcome back to today's verdict. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesch. We're going to be talking today about a notice of claim that's been filed against the New York City Housing Authority about potential Legionnaire's disease or traces of arsenic. And with us today, we have a national and well-known attorney, Sanford Rubenstein. Sanford, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. You've been on years and years ago, and we love the kind of work that you do here. And this is a very, very important topic. I wanted you to talk about to the viewers a little bit about how this case came to you. In other words, how you ended up representing Rebecca Perkins, and just a little bit of the background of this particular case, if you could.
Well, I now represent not only Rebecca Perkins, but also 50 other tenants, residents of the housing complex. She happened to be a prior client who called us when she first got word that there was arsenic in the water at Riis. Turns out now the tests were reviewed again, and there's a claim by the city that the arsenic was never in the water. It's not in the water. It was a mistake by the testing company. We really don't know. But the truth of the matter is, people have to protect themselves and their rights. For example, if you live in a New York City Housing Authority complex, I happen to have grown up in one, Ravenswood in Queens. If you live in one and you have a damage as a result of negligence or wrongdoing by the housing authority, you must file what's called a notice of claim within 90 days, or you're barred from bringing a legal action for damages. You're barred from getting what you're entitled to as a victim in damages.
What are you putting into that notice of claim? What are you putting into specifically? So the viewers know.
We already filed. We put in, of course, the fear of getting disease, as well as the actual getting disease, to protect the rights of our clients in case they do get a disease as a result of the water having a substance in it that it shouldn't, like arsenic or Legionella's disease. That's another issue that's out here, whether the water had Legionella bacteria in it, and if that could cause disease. So we have to protect our clients, and people need to know, once again, you got to file a notice of claim within 90 days. Usually a lawyer will do that for you, but you can do it yourself also. But it must be filed with the New York City Housing Authority.
And we also should let the viewers know that you have to start the lawsuit within a year and 90 days. So
that's correct.
These are time limits.
Right. But the most important thing is now the notice of claim has to be filed to protect your rights.
That's correct. Let's go back to the subject matter, if we could. I don't quite understand. Are you telling me that there was a company that tested the water, said it wasn't good, then said it was good, now is not sure? I'm a little confused.
All right. From what we see in the press releases, initially, there was a company that was hired to test the water. That company came back with results that said there was arsenic in the water. Subsequently, there was retests, which came back to say, well, no arsenic, but there may be Legionella's disease. Now, another set of reviews that say, oh, there was never anything bad in the water. Mayor Adams was at the complex drinking water saying, it's safe to drink, it's safe to drink. And they pulled the free water they were giving out in bottles to the residents who had to drink that while this whole issue was being resolved. The bottom line is nothing's resolved yet. We have a monitor, federal monitor, who is conducting an investigation. We have the New York City Department of Investigation that's conducting an investigation. The residents at this complex are scared. They're scared that they could have gotten sick. They're scared that they may have a condition that will turn up 5-10 years from now as a result of possibly drinking tainted water, or water that was possibly tainted with chemicals that should not be in it.
So far you have about 50 clients now who came through the process. Are you adding additional claimants?
We're representing victims as they come to our office. The number keeps getting higher and higher. I'll be meeting some people today at the complex at a rally there. But the bottom line is people should be safe from contaminated water and safe from the fear of contaminated water. And that's not the situation here.
But it doesn't mean that anyone's necessarily injured right now.
But certainly the people that live there have been psychologically traumatized.
Right. Well, that's different. That's different. I understand that, and we're going to get that in a second. But we don't have any evidence right now that there's any physical injury as a result of the drinking this water at this point. Am I correct?
I do not represent any victims who have a claim for physical injuries as a result of either arsenic in the water or Legionella's disease in the water. That is correct.
Now, what are you looking for in terms of a psychological injury? Obviously, they have to be treated by some type of a counselor or somebody. What exactly are you looking for in these types of cases to be able to prove your damages?
Well, I think any trauma that's substantiated by a medical professional, either a professional at a hospital or a professional at a medical center, a doctor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a psychiatric social worker, to confirm a diagnosis of either post-traumatic stress syndrome, who knows what. But the bottom line is people have suffered there, and we have to get to the bottom of it. And the best way to do it is with litigation, discovery, and have the truth ultimately come out.
Now, of course, as you know, once you have these notice of claims that are filed, eventually you have what's called a 50H hearing. You're going to have a hearing. All these different claimants are going to be testifying. Do you think that's going to happen, or maybe it'll settle beforehand? What are your thoughts in the long term on this?
Look, my philosophy has always been, don't sign a case up to settle. Sign it up to go all the way if you have to. So we're preparing our cases to go all the way. We're preparing our cases for a 50H hearing at which the clients will testify under oath. But the bottom line here is it may not just be the housing authority that caused this. It may very well be the testing company that caused this. So we're going to look at all the potential defendants here. And also, most importantly, the independent investigation by the monitor appointed by a federal court with regard to those findings, which obviously we don't have yet.
Yeah, when do you anticipate to have the results of those findings?
Look, it's the government. We don't know. This reminds me of 9/11. 9/11, 21 years ago. Whitman, who then the Environmental Protection Agency head, made a public statement. There's nothing wrong with the air. Breathe the air. Breathe the air. Fine. It's fine. Thousands of people got cancer. So the public just does not trust government.
Okay, final comments. Somebody may be watching today and they think they may be a victim of this. They're scared to death to drink the water. What would you tell them? Please let them know.
Call me at 718-522-1020. That's 718-522-1020.
All right, Sanford Rubenstein, it's a pleasure having you. You're a hero in the field, and we love you. We love having you.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. All right, stay with us. Today's verdict has so much more right after this.
Media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
All right, welcome back to today's verdict. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesch. What if you're arrested? What if you're arrested? Could be in your car. You know, you could after a traffic stop. What if you're arrested? Somebody comes to your home. What if you just arrested on the street? Well, today we have Alexander Sanchez here, who's going to give us a little bit of a tutorial on what to do if you're arrested. Counselor, thanks for coming back.
No, it's always a pleasure to be here, Mr. Lesch. Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure. So we could break it down into various segments, or we could just start, from the beginning. Just tell the audience a little bit about what an arrest really is, if you could.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to start from the beginning. So what is an arrest? An arrest means that there's been some type of complaint that was issued against you, or you were seen in the presence of the police officer having committed or alleged to have committed some type of an offense. And the police are going to take action and they're going to arrest you. And the technical word for arrest means that your body is being restricted and you're taken into some type of custody and you can't leave the location. That's what an arrest means. But what we generally understand an arrest to mean is that the police are going to take you into the police department. They're going to fingerprint you, they're going to photograph you, and they're going to process you for further, criminal court proceedings. So what happens, and the reason why this is important is because I think there's an appalling lack of education to the general public as to what one should do when they're arrested. What does that mean? And how should people react? Now, when there's an arrest that takes place, it's usually quite often in a volatile situation. There's a fight, there's an argument, there's domestic violence, or there's some type of dispute between people. Maybe the person is committing a crime, and it's usually a tense, heightened situation. And it's prone, and there's quite often things go awry, and sometimes things happen that you would not want to see happen. Somebody gets hurt, whether it's the police or whether it's the person that's being arrested. That's what needs to be avoided. So my recommendation to people is this, right? Let's say you are being arrested for some reason. You may feel that you're completely innocent of the charge. You may feel that being arrested is somehow unfair, that the person that has filed a charge against you, well, they should be arrested, or that there is no evidence against you. But the fact of the matter is, and on top of that, you're angry, you're enraged, you're afraid, concerned, you're embarrassed. Maybe you're in your neighborhood, you're gonna be taken out in handcuffs. You're thinking, what's gonna happen to me? You don't understand the criminal justice system the way lawyers do. You don't understand the consequences. Is this gonna cost money? Does this mean you're going to be separated from your family or children? So that your emotions are extremely heightened at that point. Well, unfortunately, when people's emotions are extremely heightened and they're suffering from all these emotional conditions, they react in ways that they don't ordinarily react. They become very angry and maybe start yelling. They become very demanding of police officers, very retaliatory in some cases against police officers or against other people that are on the scene. But, that is not going to help resolve your legal issue at that point. So when somebody gets arrested, quite often the first thing they're going to ask is, why am I being arrested? Who's bringing these charges against me? Why are they bringing charges against me? What about the evidence? Did you interview the witnesses, officer? There's videotapes right there. Did you see the videotapes? Do you know anything about the background of the person bringing the charges against me?
Is it okay to ask these questions even before you have the lawyer? Like, what would you say if somebody's coming to your door and ready to arrest you, and there's video and all that things. Do you ask these questions before somebody gets to you? How would you?
No, I don't think you should ask those questions, but this is the questions that people ask
They do.
when
Yeah.
they're under these circumstances. And people are under the misimpression that somehow the issue of their arrest is going to be resolved right on the corner of 138th Street
Yeah.
at 10 o'clock at night. And it doesn't work that way. In New York City or New York, if someone files a complaint against you, the police have to make an arrest. Now, which means that you're going to be taken into custody, fingerprinted, photographed, and then you're going to be processed for further court proceedings. Now, you're not going to have a trial on the street corner, okay? Right on the street corner, there's not going to be a jury that's going to be brought in to stand on the corner to listen to your case. You're not going to have a judge at 10 o'clock at night brought to the corner to listen to act as a judge. You're not going to have a prosecutor. You're not going to have a defense attorney. You're not going to have people that have obtained videos of what may have occurred in the various storefronts, right? You're not going to have someone that has tracked down witnesses, right, in the street. You're not going to have all that, right? That happens later. But people are under the impression that these issues are all going to be resolved somehow immediately, and that the police should be questioning witnesses and looking at videos, and the police officer himself should be the judge in the case. And the police officer themselves should make the decision whether or not this is a valid arrest or not. And that's just pure fantasy. It doesn't work that way. It will never work that way.
When all of a sudden there's the commotion and your things are going downhill, and I understand you really should, keep a level head, because a lot of, people have been killed even when they've tried to keep a level head. Either they've been killed or other, things get out of hand. A lot of times, my viewers don't know like how far they can go, let's say with video. Everybody has a cell phone. Can they just immediately take out the cell phone and start videotaping? Do they have to ask permission? Do they have to be a certain amount far away from the scene? What's been your experience with the cell phone videos? Because that's been helping so many of the criminal defendants when the time comes, in terms of showing what really happened and what really didn't happen.
Well, usually if you're talking about video at the time of the arrest, or video, during the time of the event leading to the arrest. But, there's different rules for people that are, let's say a civilian that has nothing to do with the arrest. And they see like the Floyd George case where the civilian was filming what was going on. They have a perfect right to film. Some jurisdictions have tried to say you have to be 10 feet away or 15 feet away, as long as you're not interfering with the police. But a person that is under arrest, if they try to pull out a video camera, an officer may think they're pulling out some type of a weapon or something. So that's kind of a gray area. What happens if a person that is under arrest suddenly pulls out a video camera to record what's going on? But that's the arrest itself. That's not going to address the reason why the person was arrested. So let's say somebody's on the street and somebody says, hey, that guy robbed me. The police have to make an arrest. Now, you can argue with the police. You can get angry at the police. You can you can try to retaliate against the police. But you know what? The reality is you are going to lose, because this police officer is not alone. He's part of an army, and he'll get other police officers there. And if that doesn't work, they'll get other police officers and more police officers. You need to understand that when you're in that situation, you really can't win. What you do is you remain silent. I'm not saying for you to make any type of statement to the police, but your ability to resolve the issue is not going to be at that moment. Later on, you may be able to resolve the issue. You have a lawyer.
With the statements, I understand you're not supposed to give any statements and you have the right to remain silent, but shouldn't you be acquiring information about those who are arresting you just in case things go sideways? Is there a police shield? Is there precinct they should ask about? Or is there information they should be asking about, just so that in the future, if something happens to them or they want to show that they're wrongfully arrested, they have all the information they need?
All those issues can be obtained at a later date. Again, you're not going to learn all that information at 10 o'clock at night on the corner of 138th Street or anywhere else. Okay. What happens when you're arrested is this. Okay. You get arrested, police take into custody. You're fingerprinted, you're photographed. There's a whole series of police reports that are filled out. The police reports contain information from witnesses, from police officers. They have maybe some photographs that have been obtained in connection with this case. And at some point, you're going to be brought before a court, and your lawyer is entitled to get all of that information. There may be videos, right? Body cam videos that the police officers had. You're entitled. I review them all the time. And once you have all these documents, once the police officers and the district attorney have all these documents, they have to turn them over to the defense attorney, and the defense attorney can review them. I had a couple of people in my office yesterday, and we're going over all these documents and all these videos in my office to review. There's a time and there's a place to address these situations. It's not on 138th Street at 10 o'clock at night. It's when you are in an office with your attorney and you can have a free discussion about this. You can review the documents, and then your attorney and you know much more about this. There's names of police officers on there. There's names of witnesses on there. There's a lot of information. You're not going to get that at 10 o'clock at night.
What if a police officer has a warrant with them, knocks on your door, wants to come in and take a look around? Well, there's so many different issues. What if you don't own the property, or you own the property, but do you have to open the door to even look at the warrant? Did you tell them to put it under the door? What has been your experience with the executing of warrants?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about an arrest warrant, or are you talking about a search warrant? If police officers have a search warrant and an arrest warrant, right, they could break down your door and come in there. They should knock. But if you don't open that door and they have a search warrant, they could break that door down because they have authority by the state of New York, by a judge, to go into that apartment. It's not up to the person that is the subject of the search warrant to determine whether or not the search warrant should be executed. That's not the way it works. If there's a search warrant, police have the right to go in there. If there's just an arrest warrant for a person does not have to open the door to their apartment. Okay, they can not open the door, and the police do not have a right to break down that door. But the police will keep looking for you. My recommendation, if you become aware that the police are looking for you, and you will become aware because quite often when they are looking for you, they leave a card with their telephone number, or they leave information. Hey, we're looking for this guy. Contact an attorney. Call up an attorney. Don't call up the police officer, because you may end up making statements which could hurt your case. Call the attorney. The attorney will call up, or should call up, the detective in the case. Find out a little bit more about the case and possibly arrange a surrender. Everything you want done should be done in a civilized manner.
In your experience, does that happen? What do you usually get the phone call when they're looking for the person, or when the person's already behind?
Well, I get calls from people that are behind bars. I get calls from family relatives. I get calls when people are waiting to see the judge. I also get calls from people that say, listen, a police officer or detective was looking for me. What should I do? And I provide that person with instructions, written instructions. I have them come in. I call up the detective in the case, notify the detective that he has an attorney. And you know what? Most detectives, in my experience, are more than happy to deal with the attorney, because it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
If you have your client go to the police station in a civilized manner, nobody's getting hurt. Everybody knows he's represented by an attorney, as opposed to police officers tracking someone down in the middle of the night where there's danger to anybody. They don't want that. They want life easy for themselves too. You have to understand.
Final tips. Someone's watching today, and they're looking for you. They're looking for me. They're looking for somebody, and you're just nervous. It's going to cost a lot of money. Maybe there's an outstanding warrant for you. You don't even realize it. Maybe you're not even legal. You don't have. What are you going to tell these people to do?
What do I tell people? Whether you're arrested on the street, whether you're arrested because the police are looking for you, remain cool and calm. You're not going to resolve the problem right then and there. You may be able to resolve the problem later. You'll have access to legal advice at a later date. If something went wrong, if the police mistreated you, you could always report them to the Department of Internal Affairs. or report them to the Civilian Complaint Review Board, or report them to the district attorney. But you're not going to be able to do that at 10 o'clock at night on 138th Street, okay? Try to remain cool. Say, notify the police that you wish to have an attorney and say, sir, I'm not here to cause any problems. We'll address and resolve these problems later. Thank you very much.
And where do we find you, by the way, Alexander?
You find me in the Bronx, alexandersanchez.com at 718-665-0112.
Right. Alexander, it's always a pleasure having you. Some great advice to follow, and hopefully we can have you back fairly soon.
Always a pleasure to be here, and have a great day. Thank you.
Stay with us. Today's verdict has so much more right after this. Well, that's all we have for today. I'd like to thank our guests for joining us, and of course, you, the viewers, for watching. If you have a show or a topic that you'd like to see on a future edition of Today's Verdict, feel free to email me at davidlesch@bronxnet.org. Until the next time, know your issues, reach a verdict. See you in 2 weeks.